Tonight, a man goes to the toilet. We all lose our balls. And everything catches fire.
Good evening, and have we got a show for you tonight? A whole galaxy of stars in a surprisingly unreasonably priced car. And we get our hands dirty as we discover the best car for an archaeologist on a budget. And we dig up some old relics as well. But we start tonight's show with a letter from our old friend, Mr. Needham. Dear so-called Wot so-called Gear, why, oh why, oh why, oh why, can you not just test a sensible car in a sensible manner? You have repeatedly taken nice, practical cars and done ridiculous things with them. And it's just not good enough. I've had enough, so I'm giving you one more chance. Test drive something properly, or I shall be forced to write a very strong letter to the BBC, and I don't care if they don't read it. Well, put your pen away, Mr. Needham. Today is your lucky day. Not one, but two sensible cars. Indeed, they're made even more sensible because they're ex-demonstrator bargains. Sit back and relax, because I think you're going to enjoy this a lot.
The Chrysler Ypsilon. Compact, funky and Italian designed is many things, but what it isn't is a Chrysler. See? Lancia. This car might say Chrysler on the front, but in the rest of Europe it's a Lancia. They didn't think that would work here though, because Lancia pulled out of the UK in 1994 after all its cars disintegrated from catastrophic rust. They're a bit afraid that British buyers might remember that and they might not want to buy one.
It says it on the visor though, and if you squint really hard you can see elements of the latest Delta on the body. The designers also say that it is reminiscent of the Lancia Ardea, but that's an Italian taxi from the 1940s, so that's not particularly helpful. No, despite this and the hidden logo on the visor, it's not a Chrysler or a Lancia either. Under here, what you'll actually find is a slightly stretched Fiat 500. And that's a good thing, because this one also has the same brilliant twin-air engine as a Fiat 500.
While this car is Italian designed, it isn't classically good looking. It has some clever little touches, like hidden handles on the rear doors, but the grille was tweaked to resemble the Chrysler one, which makes it more Italian-American really, less Sophia Loren and more Sylvester Stallone.
Mind you, he's not very big either, so there may be something in that. Still, if you're a human being and not an orangutan, there's plenty of room in the front and there's plenty of room in the back for your kids. The boot's not particularly generous, but even with the seats up, you can get your kids in there too.
As I said earlier, this car has the fantastic grunty little Fiat twin-air engine, and we like that very much. Which is good because the interior is not particularly exciting. And actually, neither is a semi-automatic gearbox. You probably shouldn't have one of those. This is the biggest problem. The engine's willing, but it's hobbled by this thing. It makes the twin-air feel like it's breathing custard. Twin custard doesn't really have the same ring to it, does it? The Ypsilon's something of an identity crisis on wheels, but maybe it does have a little bit of the Lancia spirit. It'll turn heads, but it'll also empty your wallet, and deep down, it's just not that good. If you're not going to have an Ypsilon, and you're not, what else could you do with your money?
Well, you could have one of these, a Ford Focus, one careful owner, and yours for quite a lot less than the cost of a new one, and about the same as an Epsilon. But what do you get for your money? For once, let's put aside all of the show willing and look at this sensibly. This is a car for you, Mr. Needham.
Let's find out. The two cars have remarkably similar top speeds and 0 to 60 times on paper, so it's all down to the skill, talent and brilliance of the driver. Well, this one isn't. Though it is second hand, so it isn't my fault that some of the horses have run away, but if you're being sensible about it, 70 miles per hour is all you need, and it'll easily do that. And we're all about being sensible as well, you know.
No, it's silver, but it is second hand, which is sort of recycling. Yes, it is. You can get people in the front. You can get people in the back too. All the bits you need to drive it are in the right place, and absolutely none of the buttons are labelled in Serbo-Croat. As for the boot, well, Richard's Epsilon had enough room for 3 small children.
But my car has enough room for 3 small children and their pet hamster.
If you have a driving licence and you're insured, then yes, you can. Otherwise, no. Let's have a look.
And I can see over the steering wheel too.
The Focus is recognised as one of the best handling cars in its class. Comfortable, practical, good value and above all, the sensible choice for...
Oh my God, what's that? I'm being chased by a ninja! You can't catch me, Mr. Ninja. Your fancy sports car's no match for the mighty Focus. Power! He won't find me here.
Oh no! It's a shower!
I think I've lost him. The Focus steps neatly round those cardboard boxes. Unlike Mr. Ninja. What's he doing now? It could be a trap. Oh, crikey. Oh, you're lucky you were in there. I saved you from that ninja attack. Anyway, back to the studio.
Again. Sorry, Mr. Needham, really soz.
I've done it? I wasn't the one who chose a car I didn't like.
It's not like I did it on purpose.
Well, talking of not doing things on purpose, what on earth were you wearing?
Oh, well, yes, I thought I was supposed to be testing a Bugatti Veyron. I didn't have time to change. But you never know. The Ypsilon's a nippy little thing when it wants to be.
But now we must find which one of these two cars is the most sensible on the track. Some say that in 1922 Howard Carter discovered him in the Valley of the Kings, and underneath his helmet was another helmet of pure gold. All we know is he's called the Sting.
And they're off. Both cars neatly around the first corner, take exactly the same line through Chicago. The Focus seems to have the stereo from the OAP car. Steady as a rock around Hammerhead, little bit of a tyre squeal there, not sure who it's from, and more songs you can clap along to. Very fast through the tyres and ooh, the Focus stepping out of it there, but Stiggy holds it with his little paws. Second to last corner, up to Gambon, and across the line.
So, the mighty Focus did it in 1 minute, 29.2.
Now that wasn't the same Focus. That was a rally spec car. It's hardly a fair comparison.
No matter, it was still a Focus, and now it's time for the...
Hold on.
What about the Ypsilon? What did that do it in?
It's not important.
Come on. Let me see the times. 1 minute, 28.3? That's almost as fast as an Evo. You're right, it's not important. No one should see this.
Nothing of interest happened there at all.
Anyway, it's now time to do the news.
Yes, it is. And let's start with a story in keeping with our archaeological theme, barn finds.
Barn finds?
Yes, you know, old cars that get forgotten about and years later turn up in an old barn somewhere. A bit like digging up an old Roman villa in your garden. And someone's found quite a lot of them. 200 rare old Porsches that are going up for auction. Some of them look real beauty.
We didn't realise Roman villas were frequently driven backwards into hedges by men in red braces.
Well, how'd you lose 200 Porsches?
Well, in your case, I imagine just park them, wander off, and then try to find your way back to them later. I'd like to talk for a moment, if I may, about convertibles, because the other day I was reading a report that here in the UK we buy more convertibles than anywhere else in Europe, even though our weather is inclined to be a bit...
crap.
It seems we love going topless, even in our changeable climate. The problem is what happens when it rains. You can put the roof up and down on some new cars while you're on the move, but if you're driving something with a manual roof, you're stuck.
You've got to stop, get out, put the roof up, get all soggy.
Exactly. But no more, gentlemen, for I have found the solution. Instead of putting the roof on the car, why not put a roof on you? Behold!
It's an umbrella!
Oh, you see, it's not. Now I can just put my roof on, and when it stops raining, I can take it off again. Simple.
You massive tot.
Genius.
Dingleberry. Anyway, on the subject of pointless automotive tat, I'd like to nominate this book. It's called Invisible Cars and Trucks. And it's rubbish. Look.
I don't know what you're complaining about. They look invisible enough to me.
Well, take this one, the Model T Ford. As you can see, it's completely invisible.
The book's called Invisible Cars and Trucks, James. What do you expect?
But that's the whole thing, though. How do you know that it's a Model T Ford? It could be a Model T, or it could be a complete book full of Vauxhall Astras.
Oh, but listen to this. This vehicle's especially useful to farmers because it rides well over rough ground and can pull almost anything.
James, could you please put some bromine in his tea before you give him anything like that? Anyway, going back to the barn finds thing, we're very proud here on Wot Gear because we recently made a bit of a discovery ourselves whilst excavating.
Do you mean nicking things?
Excavating some of the other hangars, hidden, forgotten for literally millennia. We found this Morris Marina, a fabulous example of the incredibly luxurious SDL model. And now we've restored it to its former glory, and we're going to donate it to... Oh no. Why did Careless Air have to be doing another of their piano deliveries today of all days?
That's embarrassing.
Oh, look on the bright side. At least the marina's safe. So, moving on. You may have heard that developers have been considering building a new town right here on the Wot Gear track.
What you might not know is that before a digger can move in, they have to get the archaeologists to do a survey, just in case we're sitting on something with special, deep historical significance.
Well, I'm not sure that seats for a British Leyland Mini have much historical significance.
So the producers have thought it would be a good idea if we help them out by finding the best car for an archaeologist to use when they're on the job. It had to be roomy, practical, and most importantly, because archaeologists are so incredibly poor, it had to be under £2,000.
I was the first to arrive in what I was sure was going to be a perfect car for someone who was much more interested in lumpy fields and spending their time with people who died hundreds of years ago. It's a 2002 Vauxhall Omega Estate in chic metallic silver. And because it was bound to have been owned by a travelling salesman at some point or another, it has layers and layers of interesting archaeology to dig through, if you like wearing a hazmat suit. And the price of this magnificence? Just £1,200 from a popular auction website.
I decided to go for something we could all agree on, and as I reached the meeting point, I was feeling confident in my choice.
Aha, what do you think?
Do you have an imagination, Fader? It's not exactly original, is it?
Oh, come on, who doesn't like a Mondeo? It's roomy, it drives well, and because it's so popular, it's a safe bet that lots of archaeologists already have one.
How much did you pay for this magnificent beast?
£1,700. Anyway, let's have a look at... Crikey, that's unexpected. Did you do that on purpose, or did you just have a flashback to being a travelling Paddington Bear salesman?
Well, we all know that archaeologists are dirt poor and not very stylish, so...
You're right. Bugger, the rest of us may as well go home now.
But before we could go home, some of us still had to arrive.
A lot of archaeologists in the Freemasons, are there?
Gentlemen,
Mate, what have you done?
well, as you can imagine, I've done things properly. This is a car for a sophisticated person, someone with a bit of education and refinement. It's quiet, it's discreet.
Discreet? It's on personalised plates.
No, it hasn't.
Yes, it has.
Well, they were there when I bought them. It's not my personalisation.
Didn't the challenge say we were supposed to buy estates?
I bought an estate.
No, you've bought a hatchback that looks like a squashed frog.
Technically, this IS-300 is an estate. It says so on the logbook. Anyway, we'll only be carrying bits of broken pottery, dusty old books, tweed jackets, some cheese.
Chaps. Using whatever budget you have left, take your cars away and prepare them for an archaeology expedition. Equip them however you see fit and meet back here before proceeding to the dig site, where you will set up camp. How much did you pay for that Lexus, James?
£1,995.
What does an archaeologist want in their car anyway?
For James' sake, not much, I hope. We reconvened after many hours of painstaking preparation, all eager to show off our improvements. Using the TARDIS to go back in time and nick stuff doesn't constitute archaeology, Hammond.
No, well, you see, the problem with digging up fields is that they don't tend to have much in the way of plumbing. So if I'm ever caught short,
Which is most of the time.
just makes things a bit more comfortable, that's all.
What other equipment have you bought?
I've put a lot of thought into this.
It's Indiana Hammond.
Why on earth do you need a gun?
In case those blokes with the swords and robes come after us. Surprisingly dangerous, this archaeology stuff.
Right, James. Well, what about you?
Whoa, how did you manage that with no budget?
Went to the library.
Well, James, why have you got a whip?
It's not a whip, it's a fly whisk. Howard Carter had one, you know. Look.
James, we're in England, not Egypt. You just got that out of your dungeon, didn't you?
Let's move on, shall we? What about you, Jeremy? Do you want a hammer?
Behold.
That's subtle.
It is very him, though.
Anyway, we better get going.
We'll meet you there.
Bye then.
Eventually I got my boot closed and soon caught up with the others. Apart from the boot, which admittedly is a little bit dodgy, there's not very much wrong with this car. At least it's not a Vectra. Now that would have been worse. Meanwhile, in the Lexus, things were hotting up.
On the whole, I think that this was a pretty good choice. But I have to admit to one little problem. The seat heater's developed a fault, and at the moment I've got a pretty warm backside. It's not unbearable, but it's quite a hot day. Frankly, I fear for the upholstery.
As you can see, my car works perfectly. It's got a few knocks and squeaks, but for a cheap high miler, it's actually in pretty good shape. Me and my Mondeo, we're a great team.
How's it going, James? Are you sitting comfortably?
Very comfortably, thank you, Hammond.
Not having too much trouble?
Trouble with your piles?
Sort of.
We drove for miles through the countryside, and all three cars were surprisingly reliable. In fact, the journey was going well. We were confident of getting to our destination without a hitch.
That wasn't me. That was my wife.
My radio is stuck on Radio 3.
Giving me a choice of turning it off or killing myself.
But it's a small price to pay as I can easily listen to the mellow tones of the engine.
Hammond? Jeremy, how's the Repmobile?
It's lovely. I'm not at all bored. How's the Mondeo?
You know what, it's amazing. Nothing seems to compromise the ride or handling at all. You honestly can't tell there's a portal who's strapped to the roof. It feels surprisingly lithe and nimble for its size. You know, I'm properly impressed. This is a great car.
James, can you see Hammond?
No.
Oh. What's up? Not sure, lost power.
That's not all you've lost.
Hey? My Portaloo, but...
You know you said it was performing like there wasn't a bog on the roof?
Very funny. I could do that at the moment too. I'm going to have to find a convenient bush.
You go on. I'll see if I can sort the problem.
Really?
That's what a mate's for.
Cheers.
Have you gone mad? Why are you helping him?
Of course I'm not. I'm going to sabotage his heat seeker. That's a much better idea.
You are evil. I like it.
Is it sorted?
Should hold till we get to the site. You can look at it properly when we get there.
Anyway, we're off. See you at the dig. No Richard yet?
Wonder how he's getting on.
Oh God, oh God, oh God. You utter bastards.
Eventually, Richard calmed down, and we set about the important business of making camp.
Things would be so much easier if there were proper instructions. Or help. Clarkson!
Have you finished naming your tent pegs yet? Oh look, there's Julian and Anne, George, Timmy and Dick.
And you know where I'm going to put Dick if you don't stop cocking around and give me some bloody help putting up this tent.
You know I don't do manual labour.
I don't care. Sometime later, and with surprisingly little bloodshed, we got the tent up and settled down for the night.
I hate camping. I hate sleeping on hard ground. I hate not having an ensuite toilet. Hate how narrow sleeping bags are.
Give it a rest, James.
Hate not having a kettle.
We don't need a kettle, we have flasks. Coffee?
No thanks, I'm a little encased.
James?
I hate coffee.
Tea then?
Don't we have any real milk?
We're in a tent in the middle of a field. There are no power points. Where would we plug the fridge in?
That stuff's revolting in tea. I'd rather have it black.
Be like that then.
Look, don't do that, it'll explode!
That's not gone well.
Jeremy, you idiot! Now where are we going to sleep?
We've got estate cars. You can always sleep in them.
That's all very well for you. You're only 4 inches tall and you've got a car the size of a tank.
So all of our cars have made it to the dig. So now it's time to put a star in a reasonably priced car. Or rather, an unreasonably priced Jeep. Because my guests tonight are the stars of the only other decent show on Sunday nights. And we thought we'd give them something a bit more familiar to play with. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the stars of Grime Team.
And here it is, a 2007 Jeep Cherokee.
So why aren't we having a barbecue on such a beautiful day?
Well, after last year's disaster, the fire brigade won't let us have it.
You're kidding me.
So instead, We've made a tea party for all our educated friends.
Tea party. Ooh, pink wafers, my favourite.
No, and
While we were on our best behaviour, our first guest arrived.
Hi, guys. Oh, not interrupting you, am I? Hello, Richard. Tony.
I'm Jeremy.
Hi. So you're our hosts for this little soiree, are you?
We are indeed, yes.
I think we've done ourselves proud with the lovely spread of cakes.
Nice pink wafers.
Pink wafers,
Pink
my
wafers,
favourite.
yeah, mine too, actually.
Excellent. Yeah, we've well. That's a James May tower of pink wafers.
Yes,
It
it
is
is,
sort
it
of-
is a little, isn't it?
Fell apart.
Yeah, fell apart is a word.
We had nothing to do with that.
And so Sir Tony of Grime Team set off on the inaugural lap of our unreasonably priced Jeep.
I can't reach the pedals! Oh no, where's the corner gone?
And then another guest arrived.
Hello.
Hello. Richard, yep.
Nice to meet you.
And you're Jeremy?
Yep.
Thank you for
Big fan of
inviting
your
me.
trench work.
Thank you very much. Very kind of you.
Please feel free to have any of the cakes from our tea party.
Well, what? No beer? I thought this was a man's programme.
Some of it got confiscated by the security team.
Typical.
The rest James ran off with.
Oh, come on!
Phil seemed to ask an awful lot of questions.
Why is the chocolate melted?
Because it's hot.
It's hot.
That'll work.
But while Phil was asking questions, Tony was finishing his lap.
Christ, you're even smaller than Hamster.
I am 5'7".
Allegedly. So, where do you think you came?
I reckon I'm probably somewhere near the top of your leaderboard at the moment.
Well, you did it in 2 minutes 5.6.
Not bad.
Thankfully, it was then time to get Phil into the Jeep.
Right, off we go then.
You great big fan of your trench work indeed.
It's pure artistry. It's great.
Hang on. If this is a four-wheel drive, why are we driving on this newfangled tarmac stuff? Oh, God, that's better. Much softer ride.
And then some more archaeologists arrived and we were in for a surprise.
Crikey, one of them's a girl.
Do you even get girl archaeologists?
You do now.
Hi. Hello. Hello.
Hello, I'm Helen.
I'm Jeremy. Well, that was an unusual approach.
I don't see how.
Well, going off-road like that. So, where did you think you came?
Dunno. Couldn't tell you.
Well, you did it in 2 minutes 18.9.
Came across a nice little beer last time I was in Scotland. Rotten Stag it was called.
Oh, beer? You think there'd be
Well,
beer here?
I say beer, I mean proper ale that was.
Real
Didn't
ale.
even have any here. I was a bit disappointed, I must confess.
Well, that's the BBC for you.
As the beer banter escalated, John escaped to the track.
Section 1, nice and steady now. Section 4, sharp turn here.
But John kept stopping on the corners. We had no idea what that was all about.
Beer.
But there you
One of
go.
my favourite subjects.
I was just saying I had a nice little drop in Scotland. What's the local brew down here then?
There's a lovely pub in the village. There's a fantastic pint of Carling Back label.
Oh, lager boy. A bubble and wind that is. Honestly, lager.
Oh dear, oh dear. So, John, how do you think you did?
I don't know. I think I'd probably beat Phil though. I've got to beat Phil.
You think so?
Yes, us radar people, we're a bit fast.
Well, you did it in 2 minutes, 18 seconds, .9. You did it in exactly the same time as Phil.
I'm glad you put his name underneath mine.
It's a bit cumbersome, but let's see what it'll do.
Nobody was really paying much attention by now, which was a shame because Helen was ready to surprise us some more.
Right, that's the hammerhead out of the way. Now it's foot to the floor time.
However, back at the tea party, people were more interested in biscuits.
Yeah, that's a bit better, isn't it?
Round Gambon and across the line.
Wow, that was quick. So, where do you think you came then? Well, I'm staggered. You did it in 2 minutes, 4.3 seconds.
That was a surprisingly fast time.
Yeah, especially after the previous two.
They were shockers.
We decided we'd better pay more attention to Stuart's lap.
Right, braking down into third.
Hi, I'm Paul.
Hi, Richard.
I'm Jeremy.
Nice and smoothly round here.
Have you done anything like this before then?
He seemed to be getting on really well, but then
Oh, hadn't noticed that before.
So, Stuart, what happened on your lap then?
Well, there's a really interesting feature. About halfway round, I had to stop and have a look. Looks like there may be an old hill fort or something up there. I'll have to have a look at that later.
So, Stuart, where do you think you came?
Oh, I don't know, somewhere around the middle.
Well, Stuart, you did it in 2 minutes, 15.7. You were beaten by a girl.
I can live with that.
And then it was Paul's turn.
I've beaten hands down on this.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Francis.
I'm Richard.
Francis. It's me.
So you're here to test out our unreasonably priced Jeep.
Well, we'll try anything once.
Enjoy.
So much quicker on the corners. Yeehaw!
Well, you did it in 1 minute, 29. However, you did it on a motorbike which only has 2 wheels. That's cheating. To go round in 4, you'd do it in 2 minutes and 58.
Oh, hang on a minute, that's not very fair. It takes a lot more skill than that to drive a motorbike.
I'm in charge.
But before things could get ugly, someone arrived and made Jeremy completely forget about the argument.
Hello, and who are you?
Hi, I'm Raksha.
I'm Jeremy. Pleased to meet you.
And that meant he completely missed what happened on Francis's lap too.
What are you doing, mate?
Oh, this is a trick James taught me. It always works with the ladies.
Take advice from James. Good luck, mate.
Oh, this is rather nice. I could get used to one of these.
Drove all night, crept into your room.
What are those sheep doing there? I shall round them up. Come by. Come by.
Eventually, we had to send Stig to retrieve the Jeep so that Jeremy could prepare it for Raksha.
Wait! Hammond!
There's no need to shout, I'm only here.
I need your jacket.
It won't fit you, it's far too small.
It doesn't need to.
My jacket!
I was sure my improvements would help us set a good time.
I'm going to win this.
Unfortunately, they didn't.
Oh no, I'm getting hay fever now. Stupid flowers.
Better off doing it with trifle, you get more layers.
Yeah. Lots of different colours as well.
And it's more fun licking off your trowel.
Good God, have you seen their table manners?
Peachy Tips monkeys have better manners.
Bloody archaeologists.
I decided to leave them all to it for a bit.
So, Raksha, how do you think you did?
Not really very sure, but I'm sure I would have done a lot better. The car wasn't full of flowers.
Well, I told Hamster not to do that. He's a very silly boy. So, you did it in 2 minutes 10.5. You're third on the list. Well done.
And just when we thought it was all over, another one showed up.
Hello, I'm Matt.
I'm gonna beat you, Raksha.
Sadly for Jeremy, at this point Raksha disappeared, muttering, "He's not going to beat me."
Come on, come on!
So there we have it. Helen remained unchallenged at the top of the board, and peace and quiet returned to Dunsfold.
You dug that trench, didn't you?
No, it wasn't me.
I was going to get the best time out of everyone. Why are you getting involved? No, I was going to win this.
Oh, you two, stop it!
And the fastest archaeologist in our reasonably priced Jeep is here tonight. Earlier we reviewed some very sensible practical cars. Unfortunately, this annoyed one of our viewers, a Mr. Abramovich, who wanted to know why we weren't featuring any cars suitable for a Russian oligarch.
Well, if he just waited a few minutes longer, he could have saved himself the cost of a phone call. Because while Richard and Jeremy were enjoying the Epsilon and Focus, I was sent out to test drive the Bentley Mulsanne. The Bentley Mulsanne is named after the Mulsanne Strait at Le Mans, which does make me wonder whether it's capable of going round a corner any tighter than the Hogarth roundabout. That's really only a problem for your chauffeur, because you'll be gliding along in luxury in the back.
This is a Brompton, named after the Brompton Oratory because it was designed in a room overlooking it. And, unlike the Bentley Mulsanne, we have one to review. In many ways, it's better than the Mulsanne. For a start, you don't need a chauffeur to drive it for you, and you don't get random niggers trying to scrounge a lift. Like the Mulsanne, it's not cheap. You can easily spend well over £1,000 on one. But then they're built by real British people, not robots.
What you get for your money is a ticket to sail past traffic jams. Though admittedly, they tend to sail right back past you as soon as the lights change, which can be a bit scary. With these little wheels, it's not the most stable of bikes.
Of course, there's no road tax to pay, no MOT to worry about, and no insurance. But I'd recommend that you get theft insurance, because they're extremely nickable. They're expensive, and in under 20 seconds you can fold it, pick it up, and run off with it. Mind you, you'd have to be fit to get very far that way. This one weighs in at 12.5 kilos, although some of the modern ones are a bit lighter, if you pay an extra 540 quid.
Assuming yours doesn't get nicked, there's a whole host of expensive accessories that you can get for your Brompton. From baskets, extra kiddie seats, storage cases, all sorts of stuff. And even without the official luggage, you can still get your shopping strapped on safely. These gears are an old 5-speed Sturmey Archer, which have an unusual configuration with 2 control cables. It's called an S5.2 1983 to 1990. It superseded the S5.1, which wouldn't reliably stay in gear, and that's a bad thing. That was followed by the 5-star, a real turkey which had cantilevered Planet gear axles, meaning they're only supported on one side. Another bad idea. No wonder Sturmey Archer went bust. A 3-speed hub gear has 3 main components: a centre sun pinion, a planet cage with 3 gear wheels, and an outer ring gear with the teeth on the inside along with the hub shell and back sprocket. For the S5.2 there's a second larger sun pinion alongside the first, and there's the chain going off to the front sprocket and pedals. Later models had a patented ball locking mechanism for shifting the sun pinion. And no, Jeremy, I don't have one of those in the dungeon that I don't have. And now we shall find out how fast you'll go around the track. Or maybe not. There's another downside to the small wheels. You have to turn them much more than the big wheels to cover the same distance. And that means you have to pedal more. On top of that, they create extra rolling resistance, and the frame flexes a bit, so that takes up even more energy. But never fear, once it's folded up, you can take it on something called a tube train. This means you get a rest from pedalling, but you still have to lug it up the stairs at the other end, leaving you gagging for a pint of the best. So you jump in the car and head off to the pub. And then, when you spent the evening getting clattered with your mates, you simply take the Brompton out of the boot and cycle home.
What happened to the Bentley?
Okay, I admit it. They changed their mind. They wouldn't let us have one. But we'd already committed to making the film, so I improvised.
With a push bike?
Mr. Abramovich is not going to be very pleased with you.
So that's another viewer we've upset then.
Yes, it is. Moving swiftly on. Shall we see how our lovely marina is getting on?
Phew. Thank goodness that only hit an E-type. I think we should get back to tonight's challenge before anything else goes wrong.
What a great night's sleep.
Right, who's hungry?
Starving. Well, it's no good. Everything was in the tent when it caught fire.
Oh, I thought I might go to the nearest shop and get something.
Are we sure we can't salvage anything from last night?
Unfortunately, we could.
Ooh, beans. That's excellent.
I don't suppose there's much we can do with these. The camping stove blew up when the coffee mate exploded.
I don't know. You could always throw them at Hammond.
Look, I'm sorry I joked about your piles, okay? You've already helped ruin one pair of jeans. I don't have any more with me. You can always throw them at him. He started the fire. What?
They must have cooked in the tenting inferno. We're saved.
Oh, I don't like scorched eggs.
What else are you going to do but eat them?
Well, it's a pity that all the cutlery was burnt, or else we could have had an egg and spoon race.
James, you're a genius.
Hardly all the spoons have melted.
Think bigger.
You're not serious.
He is
You are
serious.
You will attach a wheelbarrow containing a giant egg to the back of your car. You have 10 minutes to do as many laps of the field as you can. And if the egg falls out, points will be deducted. And you must stop and replace it immediately.
James said that because it was his idea, he should go first. But it wasn't long before Captain Slow decided, uncharacteristically, that speed was of the essence.
I've clearly been rubbing off on Richard because he took the time to wedge his wheelbarrow on properly and even cornered steadily.
Oh wow, this is great fun. Come back, please! Finally, it was the turn of the Wot Gear orangutan, which was interesting.
Stupid egg! Don't do that! Right, I'm gonna get you nailed.
By the end of the race, each one of us was convinced we'd won.
Really not sure what that achieved.
No, but it was fun though.
You've reached the end of a very successful dig. You must now safely load your finds into your cars and bring them back intact to the museum. Just getting there is not enough. Points will be deducted for items that are damaged or lost.
That doesn't sound too hard.
It was.
Look at all this stuff. It'll take ages to load up. I'm just going to have to be a little bit more efficient about how I do it.
I think the secret to this kind of thing is to think it through and plan it a bit.
Oh, cock.
Ooh, what's that shining at the top of the pile?
An old pickle jar or something. Why?
I think that's mine.
What are you blithering on about?
It's a Kilner jar. One of my ancestors made that.
And I found it. You can't just take it, you greedy oaf. I'll lose points.
But James!
Oh, very well, fine. But I'll take your migging vase.
because I was so efficient at packing my car, I was ready to go in no time at all.
Whilst Jeremy was off, James seemed to be having a few problems packing his things into his hatchback. I didn't have any problems myself, and I wasn't far behind Jeremy when I was ready to leave.
Oh,
That's not gone well, has it?
nope. No, it hasn't.
Well, Hammond, how did you get on?
Not sure. Well, let's have a look.
Annoyingly, although one or two of Richard's finds had come to grief on the journey, most of his precious relics were intact. He'd beaten me. But had he beaten James, we would have to wait and see.
None of those are any good. You want one of these. It's got a 4-wheel drive and loads of space for my toolbox and shovel.
Now what you want is one of these, the ultimate fieldwork machine. You can sleep in it, you can cook in it. It goes across ploughed fields, carries 6 fieldworkers and all their kit.
You're all wrong, you want one of these. Designed to go off-road, plenty of room for your tools, and you don't have to sit in traffic jams.
Well, I wouldn't have one of these. I mean, I ask you, where would you stick your matter? Yeah, that's
Get
gonna
all
be...
my tools in there, I'll get me
You can't hear. What's
helmet.
he got?
I've
What's
got a
he
challenge
got?
for it.
We're not falling for that one.
Oh, I'm getting out of here.
Well, that's tough. They're archaeologists. What do they know about cars?
So now all that remains to do is determine which of our cars was the best. And to do that, we must now add up the scores.
There are 2 parts to the scores to the egg and spoon race. First of all, 2 points were awarded for every lap of the field completed. I managed 6 laps, so did Jeremy, but James somehow managed 8.
However, we have to deduct points for every time the egg escaped. And I have to admit, my egg escaped 7 times, so that's minus 7 points. Richard's egg only escaped 5 times. But Jeremy's egg not only escaped, but it also got a puncture. So he loses all of his points from that round.
That'll be when he was trying to nail it to the wheelbarrow.
That's not fair. But anyway, I'm now going to crawl back some points because I arrived at the museum first, which gives me 20 points, with 10 points for Richard for coming second, and 5 points for Captain Slow to bothering to turn up eventually.
But that's not all there was to it. Remember, points were deducted for things being lost or broken on the way.
Ah. I was hoping you were going to forget about that.
Nope. So, Jeremy, how many things were left intact in the back of your Omega when you unloaded? Pardon?
None.
None?
So that's minus $1 million for Jeremy.
I didn't lose anything, but I had a few breakages, so minus 110 for me. How about you, James?
Well, I packed everything carefully and didn't drive back like my hair was on fire. So I didn't break anything. So I get a 500-point bonus, which I believe, gentlemen, means that I win. No, to be honest, I'd won even if I had broken a few things.
How do you figure that out?
Well, you see, it says I had £5 left after buying the car. But, You know that personalised number plate?
Yes.
I sold it for £4,000, so I ended up over £2,000 in profit!
Have you quite finished?
Not yet. I have now.
Good. So there we have it. The best estate car for an archaeologist is a hatchback that looks like a squashed frog. And on that bombshell, good night!